Game. Is it still Saturday?
All right, we'll go Gabe.
Kevin, how good are you feeling about your run game right now, offensively?
I don't know. I think, what we talked about all week was about focus for four quarters and about, I think, just it's good to hear, just peeping in here with Avery's talking about, I think they're listening about, our standard, what we're looking for. And guys playing to that standard. And so for the most part, I thought that happened today. No matter who went out there, we got off to kind of a sluggish start. Trevor was a little excited again. This week he was a little high early, and last week he threw some in the dirt. So next week we got to be right on target, I guess. You forget, I keep saying, the guy hadn't played in 19 months until the last 2 weeks in games. And so he's nervous, a little bit, even for an old guy. So, we're learning more about him. He's learning more about us. And then, the ability to be able to run the ball is really not just helping our offense, but helping him settle down too. So we've got to continue to be able to do that. I don't know that with what we're doing on the perimeter is going to help us if our receivers can continue to make the plays that they've made to try to create some looks that maybe get another guy out of the box. So everything works hand in hand, and but certainly Avery and their O-line is operating probably as good as they can operate at this point. And we'll see. Now we get into SEC play and get on the road a little bit where we got to communicate. In a loud place. We've been home for the last 2 weeks, so we'll practice with crowd noise like we always do, and get these young guys communicating and see if we can get the right hats on the right hats, because our running backs are running hard, and we've got enough of them to keep them fresh.
Go to the front, Zach, and then Travis should be next.
Coach, you mentioned a little bit on Trevor's game, but overall, being able to get in two other quarterbacks, what did you take away from their performances today?
I thought we wanted to get Jake out there today and get him some work. He operated, did all right. Probably I got to look at the tape, but it wasn't just the quarterbacks were able to get a whole nother line in there after the first series of the third quarter, and some of the receivers like Kima Sivaran, who struggled a little bit and bounced back. Great to see that. So some of these guys that are in roles that we're going to need going down the stretch, those guys got in today. A lot of them played special teams. And those backup players we're going to need to get, Justin Evans and Armani Watts and Donovan Wilson off the field some in special teams. So we played a lot of guys, and it's always good. And, got to look at the tape. But some young guys grew up today. Some guys were better today that got to play last week. Some guys weren't because it was the first time they played. But, Jake and getting Connor in, who is obviously a crowd favorite, he's created his own fan base, I think. So he was happy to get in there, and that's great for our team too, because he's such a great teammate. And in a win like that, it's great that we could get all those people in.
Down front, Travis, then we'll go to Ben.
Was Richard Moore unavailable today, and what's his status?
Richard was unavailable today.
Ben?
Coach, how pleased were you with Speedy in first game back in a while?
He had some targets today. I thought he played. You got to go back and look at it. I thought he would make that play down the middle of the field. Usually because he's a strong hand guy. We're getting used to him. Just even the one down in the end zone, the touchdown. He's made that catch a bunch. So we gave him some opportunities. I think he did probably the most with it. His first game back, he blocked well on the perimeter too. So he and got a touchdown. So he's going to continue to get better. That's a chemistry there with he and Trevor, and we're going to need him to be explosive and to add another weapon on the perimeter as a deep threat or as a screen guy or as a catch and run guy. He can do all those things, and so he played a lot today. Played a lot of snaps and really 2.5 quarters. So, we'll look at the video, but certainly he got some targets, and I'm sure he'd like to have the touchdown down there at the end and going to our left and catch that post in the middle. But we gave him some opportunities to get deep, and first play of the game, as a matter of fact, they grabbed him on a post, to try to get him going right off the bat, and drew a pass interference to get us going.
Just kind of as a follow-up, because that, was that as a reward for how he's? I know y'all have talked very highly about how he did off season.
His legs were probably a little bit fresher than everybody else's, so he didn't play a week ago, and those receivers played like crazy. It was hot last week, and so he was part of the progression. And on that first play of the game, tried to get him loose with those fresh legs, and they grabbed him. So we got 15 yards of pass interference, but would like to see him get loose there and start the day off.
Second row there, Roy, and then we'll go to the back, Lee.
Do you have the sense that this year's team has a more workmanlike approach to things, maybe less interested in flash and swag, and just more interested in, or more so than previous teams, in just bearing down and willing to slug it out?
I don't. Are you saying that the last few teams are more interested in swag, and is that what you're trying to say?
Well, no, I'm trying to say
that's what it sounds like.
Well, no, this is not a straw man sort of thing where I'm looking to get you to say that.
This team is this team, and this team is, as I talked about last week. This team is about getting better every week, and about addressing issues that happen, and trying to play to a certain standard and holding each other accountable. And that's been that's no different than any team we've had since we've been here. So, I don't know that all the other stuff you talk about is where we are.
I don't mean that they're less focused. I just mean that this team maybe is more focused.
I don't know. I mean, it's we'll see where we go. So, I think this team is they care about each other. They're hard on each other, but in a different way. And guys are being held to a certain standard, no matter who crosses the line to get out there and play. And plus, this team's probably a little bit more experienced across the board. All those guys that are playing that are juniors and sophomores played last year as freshmen and sophomores. So, whether it's Dalen Mack, or whether it's Kiki, whether it's all these guys that are playing meaningful minutes, even Armani Watts, all these guys are a year older, but they've played a lot of football, and because of that, I think they understand situations. They understand the approach, not just on Saturday, but the approach during the week.
We'll go to the back, Ben, and then Daryl.
Coach, similar to what I asked Avery, I mean, after getting that emotional win last week against UCLA, your team came back, no letdowns today, did what they were supposed to do against a team like that. How does that make you feel? I mean, it's got to make you feel pretty proud as a coach, knowing that the team didn't show any let up and did what they were supposed to do today.
Well, it's as a coach, when you set out and you have a plan of not necessarily the X's and O plan, but what you ask guys to do, and when that happens, you feel good about it. But the key to any successful team is to be able to duplicate that week in and week out, and that's where we are. So. What we asked him to do last week, for the most part, our team did that. We've got to continue to do that week in and week out for the rest of the season. And mature teams are able to do that week in and week out. Things don't always go right, but what you're trying to do, they don't ride the wave. And I think, to your point, is the way this team's demeanor is right now seems to be a team that understands that. You've got guys in that locker room that, as a freshman, they've saw different things. They've seen some good times, and then they've seen some not so good times. Even though we won 8 games, and I think that their approach is they want to be a better team, and to do that, there are a lot of things that have to get done Monday through Friday, as well as Saturday, and I think these guys have the right approach.
Staying in the back to the right, Daryl.
Coach, I know that defensively, you not only got a pretty good output by the guys, but you got a safety and you got a shutout. Can you just talk about how they're playing defensively, address that a little bit?
Yeah, that's amazing. We went 15 minutes without talking about a shutout around here. So that No, I'm kind of being smart right there. So since that's the second one in 2 years, it's well, the last one last year was what, the first one in how long? 10 years? Since '04. Yeah. So no matter what, that's a team that averaged 45 points a game last year in leading FCS in scoring. So they had a good plan. Obviously, for our ends, I thought their quarterback played lights out. I mean, really tough guy. Willie Simmons does a great job offensively. Kept Miles and Day off balance with what they were doing. But to not let anybody in the end zone or not give up any points is still a big deal. And so we don't take that for granted, no matter who you play. And it gets back to your question of playing to a standard. So, that's great for our defense, but we got to continue to get better. We played a lot of guys today. There's a lot of video and there's a lot of things that guys can understand that we've got to get better. And they showed some things on offense that gave our ends problems. So we're going to have to address that because this is football is kind of a copycat deal. So I'm sure that there's some things on tape today that going forward people are going to look at and see where was Miles and Day and in pass rush and they had some things to neutralize that. So we've got to get back to work. Obviously, we've got a great opponent this week going on the road, a lot of different things, and being our first SEC game, that'll be enough to get our attention this week.
We'll go Olin, Colin, and then Ben, you'll wrap us up.
Kevin, you might have just addressed some of that, but I was going to say, y'all were making the big plays in every facet today. Was there anything that as the game went on that you wanted to see that you didn't, or that you hope to see more of today?
I don't know. I thought we got enough guys in there. We got the four main receivers in there, and then got the other backup guys in there. We wanted to get them some. It becomes difficult when the score's like that because you say, well, you're throwing the ball, but you've got some things you really want to work on. You don't put Jake in there just to have him hand it off. You want to see those. You want to see Frank Ianacho. You want to see Kima Sivaran. What they're going to do. And some guys responded, some guys struggled a little bit. And so to give those guys the opportunity and Jake to operate in the offense. Without just slowing him completely down and then huddling up and just handing the ball off. So, we wanted to get some guys some real work, in that third and fourth quarter, and I thought we were able to do that. We got great video. I'd be anxious to see about where we are up front with the guys that played, and then defensively the same thing. James Lockhart, Jarrett Johnson got the safety. Those guys, the backup guys that were in there, those linebackers that got in there with Claude and Tyrell Dotson, meaningful minutes in running our defense and not just standing there and playing a certain defense and making those guys make checks, change coverages, do things with motion. You can't. It's different in practice than it is out there on the field where it's all on you and you've got to communicate. That's valuable experience for us moving forward.
To the left, Colin, and then Ben, you'll wrap us up.
Just a little bit more on Richard Moore. Do you expect him to play again next week?
Yes.
All right, and also with Priest Willis, Justin Evans mentioned he had an injured ankle. Do you expect him back next week?
Yeah, that was last week too. So, we'll get Priest back. I thought, our corners, Caper Smith has got a lot of work today. Obviously, that gives Donovan. We're moving Donovan back and forth between nickel and corner. So. But we'll get both those guys back this week.
All right, Ben.
Coach, based on what you've seen out of Speedy so far through preseason and everything, how much confidence do you have that he'll do what he needs to do to stay on the field for the rest of the year?
He's done a great job during camp, and so I told you, he had earned the starting job. He was suspended for the first game. He came back today, and the way he's practiced, and he's been a really, really good teammate, and he's got a load of talent. We all know that. And when we get it harnessed and he's, in a good place, he can be one of the most explosive guys in this league. And so he's got to continue to work and do the things that he's done for the last 6 weeks. And if he continues to do that, I think his production's going to go up because he can help us, and we all know that. And sometimes the light comes on for people at different times, and I think maybe that's happened for him.